She thought she was simply pulling a random stranger into the shadows to escape her difficult ex. A desperate, impulsive kiss meant only to hide her face in a dim hallway. But when she finally pulled back, she realized the man she had grabbed was no ordinary guest. She had just kissed the most feared crime boss in the city. The grand ballroom of the Whitfield Hotel in Chicago buzzed with noise, an endless wave of clinking champagne glasses and stiff corporate laughter. Khloe Thompson stood near the edge of the room, her fingers wrapped tightly around a crystal glass. She was 28 years old, a talented senior accountant at one of the city's top logistics firms. But tonight she felt like a frightened teenager all over again. Khloe smoothed her hands down the front of her emerald green velvet dress. It was a stunning gown, custom-tailored to fit her curves perfectly. For the first time in years, she had looked in the mirror and felt truly beautiful, proud of her soft, full figure and the way the fabric hugged her waist and hips. That fragile confidence faded the moment she spotted him across the room. Derek Whitmore, her ex-fiancé, a man who had spent 3 years slowly chipping away at her confidence with sharp words and constant criticism. Derek was a mid-level investment banker with a smooth voice and a controlling nature he reserved only for her behind closed doors. He had commented on her meals, questioned her choices, and made her feel small in ways she was only now beginning to understand were wrong. Leaving him had been the hardest decision of her life, especially after the anger he showed on their final night together. And now he was here. He was supposed to be in New York, yet there he stood by the ice sculpture, his cold blue eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on her. A slow, unpleasant smile spread across his face. He pushed off the bar and started walking straight toward her. Panic surged through Khloe's chest. Her breath caught. She could not let him corner her here, could not endure another one of his cold, controlling conversations meant to make her feel guilty for leaving. She turned and hurried away, slipping past a group of laughing executives, her heels sinking into the thick carpet as she pushed through a set of heavy doors. She found herself in a dim, quiet corridor leading toward the private suites, the music fading behind her. Footsteps echoed down the hall, heavy and deliberate. "Khloe," Derek's voice called out, thick with mockery. "Stop running. Don't embarrass yourself." She looked around desperately. The hallway was empty, no doors to slip through, nowhere to hide except a shadowed alcove where a tall man stood with his back to her, apparently studying a painting on the wall. Derek was closing in. With no time left to think, Khloe rushed into the alcove, grabbed the stranger by the lapels of his perfectly tailored suit, and pressed her lips against his. She expected him to shove her away in shock. Instead, a pair of strong hands settled on her waist and pulled her closer instead of pushing her back. What began as a desperate act of hiding turned into something unexpectedly real. He tasted of good whiskey and mint, and before she could think clearly, his mouth moved against hers with quiet command, sending a rush of warmth through her. His hands spread across her back, holding her as though he had been waiting for exactly this. Footsteps rushed past the alcove. Derek muttered something under his breath and kept walking, never noticing the two people hidden in the shadows. Khloe pulled back, breathless, her heart pounding. Her cheeks burned and her lipstick was smudged. "I am so sorry," she stammered, keeping her eyes fixed on his chest, on the expensive silk tie and gold clip. "There was a man, my ex. He was following me and I panicked. I did not know what else to do." When he said nothing, she slowly lifted her eyes. His face looked carved from stone, sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw shadowed with dark stubble, and eyes so dark they seemed almost black. He was strikingly handsome, but something powerful radiated from him, quiet and controlled. He did not look angry. He looked amused and intrigued. "Is that so?" he said, his voice low and rough, sending an unexpected shiver down her spine. Before she could apologize again, a sound made her freeze, a quiet, synchronized click from the shadows nearby. She turned her head and saw several men in black suits step into view from the nearby suite, their presence commanding and alert. "Boss," one of them said, a scarred man with a flat, serious voice. "Should we handle this?" Khloe stopped breathing. She looked at the man she had just kissed, and the pieces fell into place. Vincent Moretti. She recognized the name from a hushed, cautious conversation she had once overheard between two senior partners at her firm. Vincent Moretti was heir to the most powerful and influential family in the Midwest, a man whose name alone commanded respect and quiet fear across the city. Vincent raised one hand, and his men stepped back at once, disappearing into the shadows with practiced discipline. His dark eyes moved slowly over her, taking in the emerald dress, before returning to her frightened face. His gaze was heavy, but there was something warm in it too, something closer to genuine admiration. "Stand down," he said quietly, never looking away from her. The lady was only hiding. "I have to go," Khloe whispered, her voice shaking. She pulled free of his grip. He let her go without resistance. She lifted the hem of her dress and ran back toward the safety of the crowded ballroom without looking back. If she had turned around, she would have seen Vincent Moretti touch his own lip and smile, slow and thoughtful, as he watched her disappear. 3 days passed since the gala. 3 days of Khloe glancing over her shoulder, locking her apartment door twice, and feeling unusually aware of every car that passed her office window. She told herself she was being paranoid. Vincent Moretti was a billionaire businessman with interests across shipping and real estate. He had no reason to think twice about an accountant who had accidentally kissed him in a hallway. To a man like him, she was nothing more than a strange, forgettable moment. But her relief at surviving that encounter was quickly overshadowed by the growing pressure from Derek. He had somehow learned she had been at the gala. Since that night, he had called her more than 40 times, leaving voicemails that swung between tearful apologies and frustrated demands that she talk to him. He emailed her work account repeatedly. He even sent a bouquet of wilted black roses to her desk, the message inside cold and unkind. Khloe was exhausted, worn thin from the constant tension. It was a rainy evening when she finally left the office, her bag heavy in her hand, the streets slick and glowing with reflected neon light. She pulled her coat tighter and just wanted to reach her small apartment in Lincoln Park, order food, and finally breathe. She unlocked the front door of her building and stepped into the dim lobby. "Hello," he said. Khloe froze, the blood draining from her face. Derek was sitting on the lobby sofa, legs crossed, a coffee cup in his hand, his eyes tired and unfocused. He stood, blocking her path to the elevator. "How did you get in here?" Khloe demanded, forcing her voice to stay steady though her knees trembled. "Derek, you need to leave, or I am calling the police." "The police?" Derek scoffed, stepping closer. "For what?" "Trying to talk to my fiancé." "Ex-fiancé," Khloe snapped, backing toward the glass doors. "It has been 6 months, Derek. We are done. Leave me alone." "When I say we are done," Derek shouted suddenly, his calm mask cracking. He grabbed her arm firmly, his grip tight enough to make her wince. "Let go of me," she cried, struggling against him. But he held on, his voice rising with frustration. "You think you can just walk away from me?" he hissed, his eyes hard with anger. "No one will treat you the way I did. You belong with me." Tears burned in Khloe's eyes, old doubts threatening to take root again. "Let her go." The voice was quiet, not a shout, simply a statement of fact, and it seemed to chill the entire room. Derek turned, startled, still gripping Khloe's arm. 3 men stepped out from the shadows near the mailboxes. 2 were tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in dark tailored suits. But it was the man walking between them that made Khloe's breath catch. Vincent Moretti stood there in a charcoal suit, his dark eyes locked on Derek's hand where it gripped Khloe's skin. Behind that calm expression was quiet, unmistakable authority. "Who the hell are you?" Derek spat, trying to sound confident though his voice wavered. "This is a private conversation. Back off." Vincent did not even look at him. He gave a small gesture, and in one swift motion the scarred man from the hotel hallway crossed the lobby, took hold of Derek's wrist, and forced it back sharply. Derek yelped in pain and dropped to his knees, cradling his wrist, releasing Khloe instantly. Khloe stumbled back against the cold wall, watching the scene with wide eyes. Vincent crossed the lobby slowly, stepping past Derek without a glance, and stopped directly in front of her. Up close he smelled exactly as she remembered, cedar and expensive cologne. He reached out, and she flinched slightly, but felt only the gentle brush of his knuckles against her cheek. "Open your eyes," he murmured. She did, finding him watching her with an intensity that made her knees weak. "He made you feel small," Vincent said quietly. "That ends now." Shame and relief mixed together inside her, and she looked away. Please, just let me go upstairs. Vincent stepped closer, his hand cupping her jaw gently, tilting her face up to his. I am not here to frighten you, he said. You used a stranger to escape someone who hurt you, Khloe Thompson. That took courage. I do not want to add to your fear. I want to end it. His thumb brushed her cheek. I have spent 3 days trying to find the woman who left such an impression on me, he said, his voice low. Now that I have, I intend to make sure you never have to feel unsafe again. Behind them, Derek groaned, cradling his injured wrist. Vincent did not look back. Take him outside, he told his man, and make sure he understands he is not to come near her again. The shift from the rain-soaked lobby of her building to a sprawling penthouse on the lake felt like something out of a dream. Khloe had not packed a single bag. Vincent had simply wrapped his heavy coat around her shaking shoulders and guided her into the back of a private car. Now sunlight poured through floor-to-ceiling windows into a bedroom larger than her entire apartment. She sat on the edge of a massive bed, staring at a tray of pastries and coffee a member of staff had left behind. You have not eaten, Vincent said, leaning against the doorway. He had shed his jacket and tie, wearing only a black dress shirt with sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms marked with intricate tattoos, a striking contrast to the polished elegance around him. I am not hungry, Khloe said softly, wrapping her arms around her stomach out of old habit. Mr. Moretti, I cannot stay here. I have a job. I have a life. Vincent crossed the room, stopping in front of her, and gently caught her hands. You keep pulling away from yourself, he said. I meant what I told you. No one will make you feel like you need to shrink in this house. Derek, she started. Derek will not bother you again, Vincent said firmly. He knelt in front of her and placed his hands warmly over hers. Listen to me, Khloe. People who try to make you feel small usually do it because they are afraid of how much space you actually deserve to take up. You are remarkable. You deserve to be seen exactly as you are. Her breath caught, and a tear slipped down her cheek. For years, she had been made to feel her body was something to apologize for, and now here was someone treating her as though she were something extraordinary. Vincent pressed a gentle, comforting hand to hers, a gesture so sincere it pulled a quiet, relieved breath from her chest. I had some things brought for you, he said, standing and helping her up. He led her to a walk-in closet filled with beautifully tailored dresses, silk blouses, and shoes clearly chosen with her in mind. On the center island sat a velvet box holding an elegant diamond necklace. Vincent, this is too much, she said. I am only an accountant. You are someone I care about, he said simply, his tone warm. And you deserve to feel confident wearing whatever you want. Get dressed. Tonight we are going out. I want you to see how the city responds to you now. What Vincent did not tell her, hidden behind the gifts and the warm attention, was the tension building beneath the surface. Downstairs in a private section of the penthouse, Matteo stood over a table covered in files. The Russo family is asking questions, boss, he reported when Vincent came down. They know about the girl. They know she is important to you. Vincent's expression hardened. How did they find out? Her ex, Matteo said, tossing a folder onto the table. Derek Whitmore owes them a serious debt. After what happened in the lobby, he went to Tommy Russo hoping to make himself useful. He told them she matters to you. Vincent's jaw tightened. Then we make sure they understand exactly how much she matters, he said evenly. Increase security. Whatever they are planning, we will be ready. The private dining room at the restaurant was a study in quiet luxury, though Khloe could hardly focus on the elaborate tasting menu in front of her. She was far too aware of the man across the table. Vincent looked striking in a midnight blue tuxedo, his hand resting gently on hers, his eyes warm every time they met hers. You are quiet, he noted, sipping his wine. I am overwhelmed, she admitted. 3 days ago I was anxious about my own shadow. Now I am sitting here in a beautiful dress, having dinner with someone who commands this much respect. She looked up at him. Are you going to keep me close only for now, Vincent? Or is this something real? Vincent set his glass down, all lightness gone from his expression. You are not something temporary to me, Khloe. You are the first person in a long time who has made me feel like more than my responsibilities. If you want to leave tonight, I will make sure you are safe and taken care of, no questions asked. But if you choose to stay, you stay as someone I respect completely, as an equal. Before she could respond to the weight of that offer, the doors of the dining room burst open. Several armed men stormed in, and chaos broke out. Vincent had been prepared. In an instant, he pulled Khloe down and shielded her completely with his own body as security responded swiftly from the hallway. The confrontation was tense and brief, resolved within moments as Vincent's men took control of the situation. Silence followed, the room in disarray. Vincent pulled Khloe up, checking her carefully, his voice tight with concern. "Are you hurt? Talk to me." "I am okay," she managed, trembling. "Bring him in," Vincent said. Mateo brought in Derek, disheveled and shaken. "Khloe, please," he said, his voice breaking. "They threatened me. I did not have a choice." Khloe looked at the man who had once made her question her own worth, now standing before her looking lost and afraid, and felt only distance. No anger, no fear, just clarity. "You made me feel small for years," she said steadily. "But look at you now. You gave me up the moment it was convenient for you." She turned to Vincent. "Please, do not let this end in more violence. Let him go somewhere far from here and never come back." Vincent studied her for a long moment, then nodded once. "Take him far from the city," he told Mateo. "Make sure he understands this ends here, permanently, but peacefully." Derek was led away, his voice fading down the hallway until a door closed behind him. The room fell quiet again. Vincent stepped toward her, cupping her face gently. "You did not run," he whispered. "I am done running," Khloe answered, gripping his hands as she stepped into him. "You promised I would never have to hide again." Vincent smiled softly and pulled her into a warm, steady embrace, holding her as though she were something precious. "Never again," he promised against her hair. "You stand beside me now, exactly as you are, and no one will ever make you feel like you need to be anything less." Khloe held on to him, letting the warmth of this new chapter settle over her, replacing the last shadows of her past. She had once grabbed a stranger in a hallway simply to hide from her fear. In return, she had found a life where she finally felt safe, respected, and completely herself.